And then he has the second stroke then, I think, right? Or the first stroke, I can't remember.
I don't fucking know.
Strokes, poops, and carrots.
I think
a Capone story.
that's good. That's the fucking article title right there.
Yeah. Hey, Toddo.
What's going on?
We got a podcast, The Buff and the Blazer. If I was a listener, where would I go to find more?
You can check us out on our website, thebuffandtheblazer.com. Drew over there writes a article that goes along with every single episode.
You can find all kinds of little extras on the articles, and you can listen to the podcast right there. Also, you can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And, of course, we're on Twitter at Buff and Blazer. Follow us there.
Get those clicks, people.
The Buff and the Blazer.
Welcome to the Buff and the Blazer, episode 22. I'm Drew, and as always, I'm here with El Toddo.
Yo.
How's it going, man?
Going good. Got out of the house today. Drove around a bunch. It was nice.
Very nice. Nice to get outside.
Get away
Safely,
from
of
my
course.
town and have something to do work-wise away from home. It was nice.
Yeah. I got to say, though, it was nice to get a newer movie in.
Yes.
I kind of miss going to the theater.
Yes.
Not that I'm looking to get back anytime soon, but
Well, just to have something a little fresher.
yeah. The film we're talking about today is Capone, directed by Josh Trank. And it's an interesting one, I think. But we both saw it recently. What did you think coming out of it?
I didn't like the movie very much at all. And it sucks because I love all the actors in the movie, and the acting was really great. And it was actually some things I did like, the way it was shot and stuff. But the story of just the last year of his life, that's what the movie is, when he's has, like, you know, degenerative neurosyphilis or whatever they say.
Yeah.
And he's, I don't know, it's a tough watch. Literally like 45 minutes of the movie. It's like an hour 45. 45 minutes of that movie is just him and his face and no dialogue.
And a raspy voice.
Not even his voice. I'm not even talking, not even talking.
Oh,
like
yeah.
45 minutes of the movie is literally just camera on his face.
Yeah. You're talking about Al Capone potato mode?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a tough watch. It's extremely boring. There's like a little bit of action at the end of the movie, which was nice. But it's like if you wanted to make a movie about, you know, the great, you know, some great anything, whatever it was, because he's viewed as like a, you know, hallmark American gangster, right? American Italian gangster.
Yeah.
And you're making a movie about some major mogul of any kind, and you just choose to film them in the nursing home their last year of their life. Like, you just skip all the story. Like, I don't know much about Capone's story at all in terms of, like, the actual facts and the history and all that. And I was hoping to get that in this movie, get a little bit of education about that period in history. And none of that. Absolutely none of that.
Yeah.
And that's how I felt about it.
All right, yeah. I'm right there with you, man. Despite all the criticism I have of this story, I get that they were trying to approach the Capone story from a different angle. Because, like, I know he's been the subject of lots of films and documentaries and books, and he's almost become, like, ingrained in the pop culture, and it's kind of weird. So I understand, like, them going into this saying, we want to get at this from a different angle, but like you said, it's just, who wants to see one of America's most notorious gangsters in a nursing home? Like, practically. in the nursing home phase of his life being a potato. And like I just and like you said, a lot of his exposure on camera are these really long, deep stares, and it's just this real drawn out, drag you along kind of character study. Not even a character study, because we don't get any character. You're just getting all expressive things going on with his face. Like,
yeah, you're getting like the Alzheimer's, dementia, scrambled memories of Capone.
and then anytime there is some kind of substance that they try to get into, it's mostly a hallucination. So it's not even really going on. The closest thing we got to like a flashback was the one scene in the dance hall with Louis Armstrong,
Yeah.
which was probably my favorite part of the whole film.
Yeah.
But other than that, like, there was like maybe 2 key action scenes, no real background information, no real flashbacks. It was all just kind of potato Capone pooping the bed.
Yeah.
And
Wicked poop, too.
yeah.
Wicked,
And that was
huge poop.
That was a cool sequence, and then it like literally devolved into shit. And I just
Twice. He shits himself twice in the movie, right? And
Yeah.
pisses himself.
and I'm like, no one really wants to get at this story, or no one's really interested in this story. If they would have infused it with a lot more flashbacks, I think it would have been a little bit more effective with what they were trying to do. But it just didn't work for me in terms of story. And I'm going to critique the film mostly on its story.
Yeah, because that's what movies are, right?
Yeah.
All the other stuff is the icing or whatever
Yeah.
on the cake. If the story's shit,
Right.
everyone else and everything else of this movie is like actually awesome.
So let's jump into story a little bit here. I thought first, well, I want to ask you, when you think of Al Capone, is this a kind of angle of a story of Al Capone that jumps into your head when you think of him? Is this something that interests you in terms of his story?
No is the answer to both questions. So, like, when you think of Al Capone, you get like these 1920s Prohibition, Tommy gun,
Yeah.
Blaze of Glory type of imagery, even though I don't know anything about the actual facts of him as a historical figure.
Right.
But the second question, absolutely no. I'm not interested in the last year of his life. I'd like to know all the horrible shit that he did, or
Yeah.
all the crazy shit, Robin Hood shit that he did. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And the fact that he hid $10 million and took it to the grave doesn't seem that compelling of a pitch to me.
Right. And that was kind of a weird, like, it seemed like there were a bunch of weird subplots in this movie
That didn't
that
go anywhere.
Didn't go anywhere. Like the one you just mentioned with his money, and the second one with his son, is just kind of, I don't know. I felt like the story itself wasn't meant to go anywhere the way they had it on screen.
Well, yeah, that's
And-
the whole point of
and
the
then-
whole movie is that he was
Like, there's-
wasn't going to snitch until he's dead. Didn't trust anybody,
Yeah. And there's literally no protagonist. There's no antagonist. There's no... I don't know what the problem is in this movie. There's no problem. It's a guy growing old at the end of his rope. And
I guess the problem is the one thing he still has in his brain is that money.
yeah,
And he doesn't want anybody to get it.
right.
And yeah, that's like the driving force of the whole movie.
Right. And then the way it ends, keeping that in mind, the way it ends with him and his son, it just doesn't connect at all for me. It's really weird.
I got a question. Are they trying to make him a sympathetic character?
I felt like they were trying to do that, like trying to make you feel for him. And I guess I'll give him the fact that they do a good job of getting into his head and showing how messed up he is, or at least in terms of how his illness is affecting him. And I did get a sense of like the regret that he has, I guess, when he's thinking back on some of the things that went down. But it's like,
Really just that one major death,
yeah, the brutal
murder of
stabbing, yeah.
homeboy. I guess we shouldn't give it away.
Yeah, but
Okay.
other than that, I mean, I don't know how sympathetic you can make Al Capone, really. It's
Yeah, I don't want to be sympathetic. I want to see
Yeah.
like a fucking villain. You know?
Yeah, me too.
I want to see a badass Tom Hardy villain. Instead, I
Right.
got a half dead, shit in his pants Tom Hardy villain.
Yeah, it was really weird. And the other thing I was thinking of as I was watching the film is Capone even the right title for a movie like this? Because for me, anyway, when I was watching the film, I thought the movie was just as much, if not more, about the people around him than it was about him specifically.
Mm.
I don't know if you got that at all. Like, especially his wife, May.
Yeah.
I don't know. I felt like the film was Capone and he was the main character, but I felt like the story was about everyone else and not him.
Yeah, they should have called it Alphonse, not Capone,
Yeah.
because he takes on. Everyone calls him Fonz
Yeah.
because
it's
he's
true.
like he ain't Al Capone anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. She says we don't use that name here.
Yeah, and it does kind of show the, I guess, the ugly side of a gangster life
Yeah.
for everyone involved,
hmm
the family and him. And it's like, is that the message?
See, if they would
You
have
try
stuck
to
with
say
something like that.
don't do stuff because you're gonna have a fucked up mansion life when you're an old. He's not that old. He's like 48, right?
Don't be a gangster because you're going to grow up with a huge mansion and a bunch of family surrounding you.
And a bunch of
taking care
dope
of you.
Italian statues. Did you see that Caesar statue?
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah, it's a hard one to get into.
It's all over the place. I think that's what its problem
You know,
is.
when there's a flashback at one point in the movie, and you see, I don't know if that was Tom Hardy in the mirror when he's young, Alphonse.
Yeah, I think so.
I think so.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, sweet. At least give us like a really hefty chunk of young Capone.
Yeah. hmm I thought half of the film was going to be young Capone.
Nope. It's like 43 seconds.
And they totally
mirror.
trick you. They trick you because the beginning of the film, well, first of all, you don't get the title on the screen until like almost 15 minutes into the movie.
Yeah, yeah.
And then it does this weird transition where it feels like you're about to go back in time. And I'm like, okay, this is going to be a biopic. Awesome. And then it just goes back to the old man. And I'm like, what is going on here?
You think they were making the movie and like the very first day they saw how good Tom Hardy is at acting as like like an old dying man, and they were just like, okay, let's just make the whole movie that. We'll save tons of money.
Yeah. Or the movie was supposed to be about young Al Capone, and then they got infatuated with his old potato Al Capone, and at the end they were just like, oh shit, we forgot to film everything else.
Yeah. Everyone's just captivated. That's why the scenes where it's just his face go on for like 3 minutes
Yeah.
of just his face squeezing out a turd or something.
Oh man. Yeah, I don't know.
I'm really disappointed with this cast and this story.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's such a waste. It was such a waste. And literally, like, all of my gripes have to do with the story.
Yeah.
Everything else, I even like the way they did some of the sequences. Like, I love the way the movie opened
Yeah.
with the suspense, and then you find out he's just chasing his little
Grandkids or whatever.
Yeah, like playing hide and seek. That was awesome. And then I loved, like, the 2 scenes we got with the hallucinations and all of that stuff. That was all well done. I thought that was really cool. But it just didn't do anything for the story.
You know what it is? Think if we did Irishman, right?
Mm-hmm.
Think if Scorsese just said, I'm just going to have De Niro telling the story from his little chair.
Yeah.
You know how, like, that part of the movie, he's like old man at the home or whatever, and he's just talking to the camera.
Right.
He's just like, I'm just going to do that. That's 4.5 hours of just De Niro monologue.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what this movie is. And they just threw out all the flashbacks with young De Niro and middle-aged De Niro. They throw all that out.
And the
just,
dialogue.
Yeah. and the dialogue. And
It's
and
just Tom Hardy with a carrot in his mouth, staring at the camera.
if this movie would have been 2 hours or more, I don't know if I would have got through it.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up The Irishman because that's what I thought we were going to get in this film.
Right.
That's where I buy the old man in the home, totally sulking and being in a really messed up place in his life because I understand everything that occurred earlier on in his life because we see it
Yeah.
and we live it.
Yeah. And
This film, you don't have any of that connection.
I mean, you could have weaved in him just like reliving his whole life in short flashbacks. You know, all of it. All the good, all the bad, the prison time. And and it's not like you didn't have the time to do that. I mean, literally 45 minutes of the movie, there's no dialogue, there's no camera moving, it's just his face.
Yeah.
Like
and
you could have cut all those scenes down to, 15 seconds instead of a few minutes. And shoehorn all of that stuff in. And show Tom Hardy's ultimate acting range. Yeah.
I mean, when you hear that, because I heard this couple years back that he was playing Al Capone, and I was like, man, that has to be an Oscar-worthy performance already. It just sounds Oscar-worthy on paper. And you don't get to see any of that. He doesn't even act as a younger Al Capone. He's just, like I said, it's all wasted almost. And I don't want to play like too much of the armchair director game, but like you didn't even have to do his whole life, his whole early life. You could have centered the film around one major event in his younger days and had that just spliced up into different pieces as the old man narrative is going on. And that would have worked fine.
Yeah.
But this is just too much old Al Capone that I don't care about because I don't know anything about him.
I wonder, I mean, obviously an actor would never do it because it'd be career suicide or whatever. But if an actor, well, they won't do it until like a decade later. But come out and be like, man, I don't know why I did that movie. I read the script. I saw it was crap, but it's Al Capone. You know, I had to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't really turn a role in a film like this down. Just because of the historical significance that it might carry.
Yeah. I mean, and then you also hear these stories about the studios totally putting their fingers into the mix and tearing up the director's movie. So who knows if there was any of that going on here.
Yeah, the guy who what studio made it?
This is Josh Trank, and this is Vertical Entertainment. Never heard of that.
The guy
it's a smaller studio.
The guy who runs it is an old guy, and he's got syphilis, and so he said, "No, just make the whole movie the old man. I'm going through some shit. Put it on screen." None of that's
I thought
true.
You were being serious for like the first, the first 4 words. I was like, "Oh, no wonder." Well, there goes that. I thought we had some actual reasoning as to.
Yeah,
they
made a great movie, but this old guy who owns the production company just made him he made us put the pants shitting scene in there, and he really liked Tom Hardy's face, so they just made us 45 minutes of his face.
Even the shitting the bed scene I thought was cool. Like before that, you know what I mean? Like that was some cool shit at first, and then in the context of the whole film, I just don't care anymore. Like there's some really cool scenes in. I don't know. Josh Trank has kind of a weird history in his back catalog of films. Like he did Fantastic Four, which was an ultimate flop. I think it's like one of the lowest scoring Rotten Tomatoes films. Something like that. And he was slated to do like one of the Star Wars films for Boba Fett, and then there was all these shenanigans going on. He got fired.
Is there a Boba Fett movie?
Apparently they were there was supposed to be one, and he was slated to direct it. And they were even going to announce it too. And the day before, I guess, they pulled him out. And they just totally canceled the event, which is crazy. So, yeah, he has kind of a weird, interesting history, this director.
Did you see that Fantastic Four movie?
Yeah. That film, that was an awful film too. And I'm not saying the guy can't direct, because there are some sequences in here that are awesome, but I don't know if, and he wrote the script too. I think he wrote the story for this film, and it just didn't land.
Yeah, it's a bit of a whiff. You got to work in some more flashbacks, some more context. And maybe that's like the theme is the cloudy, foggy, demonstrating how fucked up he was at the end.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why there's nothing.
And I guess the other thing, too, is maybe if you're super familiar with Al Capone's background and history, then maybe you can get something out of this film that we don't. But I just didn't care.
Man,
Like-
the the real Al Capone looks so much like my brother-in-law, it's insane. I just went to the wiki page, man. Holy shit.
I don't know if he would appreciate that or not appreciate that. But,
yeah, he'd appreciate it.
Oh, man. But let's talk. I don't know.
Let's
Is
talk
there
about
anything
some of the
pressing?
No, I mean, the story
Anything
sucks.
else?
There's nothing more to say about it. There is no resolution.
Yeah, there's no two ways about it.
There's no plot to anything. It's just like
Okay.
you're in the brain of a confused old man for an hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah. Solidly in the brain of an old, confused potato man.
Yeah.
Okay, we can agree on that.
Seeing ghosts and having strokes and flashbacks and falling over and shitting himself. It's not.
Yeah.
It doesn't paint a very pretty picture of wanting to grow old.
Yeah, that's
I don't
for
ever
sure.
want to be that fucked up.
Yeah. But no, I agree with you. Let's move into the part of the
strengths.
movie that
Let's
I
get
think
to
that
some of the
worked.
strong stuff.
Yeah. So I think you and I kind of agree that the acting in this film was pretty damn solid.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Across the board. I mean, obviously we'll start with Tom Hardy, but you can put Tom Hardy in any role and I'll watch it. The guy knows how to act. He's one of those guys that can just disappear into a role, and I love that about him.
He's probably a trippy dude to be around when he's in character.
Yeah, probably.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He strikes me as the kind of guy that stays in character for
He
quite a
strikes
while.
me-
I don't know anything. I've never really watched an interview with him or anything, but
He's probably like a buff Shia LaBeouf.
yeah.
He's probably in line with like a Shia LaBeouf kind of. Totally invested in his characters. That's the vibe I get from him. Like pretty intense.
That's why I was so disappointed in
Yeah.
this because he is awesome and he plays Capone fantastic.
Yeah.
And all the Italian and puffing on a cigar, he's so good that I just really wish they would have let him do different ages, especially with all the
Mm-hmm.
de-aging stuff like we saw in Irishman.
Yeah.
Well, and the beauty is he's not old, so he
Yeah.
could play, a younger
did such a-
version much easier, and it's just, I don't know, man.
I loved the thing he did with his voice, making it all raspy and
Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
the whole time.
With a carrot. Dude.
I like
yeah,
that.
He did so good. And even though those scenes we were kind of shitting on where you get a lot of the long stares, like if there was more build up to that, like in terms of his backstory, I would have been digging some of that stuff, like eating all that up, because he definitely has a look about him.
Yeah.
That's
He's
totally-
completely convincing, which says something because
Yeah.
Tom Hardy's in tons of shit. He's
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
tons of movies, and when an actor is that present in the film world, it's really easy to see an actor and be like, oh, and see all the other characters that they portrayed.
Right.
But I didn't get that once with him. I was like, holy shit, he's totally Capone. From the second the movie started.
Yeah. Like his introduction when you see him in the hallway and he looks like he's sweating and about to have a stroke or whatnot. And he's just playing a game of hide and seek. I love that introduction to his character.
Yeah.
But like I said, it doesn't go a whole lot, or it doesn't go anywhere really. So besides him, who else really stood out to you that you enjoyed? Because I definitely have someone.
May. She was
Yeah.
great. She did a really good job of putting that pain on her
Yeah.
face.
She was my favorite.
Yeah, like just really showing the pain that a spouse would be going through with like basically a dying partner who's shitting themselves and fucking that is like this almost pedestal level gangster, like with this mythology and everything about them. And I don't know, she did a really good job of portraying how tough it might be for like soon to be widow gangster wives.
Yeah, and it's really interesting. I loved how she did this nice thing where she was really concerned and involved in taking care of him in his like older age and during his illness, but at the same time she gave him that sort of freedom to be Al Capone, to carry around that moniker and be the guy that everyone knows him to be.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, she was still like she has like a strength to her. And I love that scene between the two of them when he spits in her face and she like bitch slaps him.
Yeah, drops him, slaps
that
him
was
twice and drops his ass.
That was intense. And then he has the second stroke then, I think, right? Or the first stroke, I can't remember.
I don't fucking know.
Strokes, poops, and carrots. A Capone story.
That's good. That's the fucking article title right there.
Yeah, that's what I thought of. But yeah, she played it off so well, and man, she was great. I always like seeing Matt Dillon, and I feel like every film that he's in, you just see him banging somebody.
Yeah, I was kind of bummed we didn't get to see Blondie's face. I was waiting for that, damn camera to go back into focus. Like because it's a pretty cool sex scene for a movie. He's like pumping, and
yep.
And then she lays on the couch and lights up a cigarette while he answers the phone. And apparently that's all going on in Al Capone's memory. But maybe that's why the camera never got in focus on the chick. But I wanted to see her. She looks hot. That 20s hot chick with like the hair gelled to her forehead, and you think of all that like Gatsby type shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
That's what I wanted, I wanted some more of that kind of roaring 20s Gatsby shit. Yeah, I don't know much about that time period at all, man.
Yeah. See, for someone that's not familiar with the Capone story, I would have liked to have gotten into a little bit of his, even though the films have been done, like I said, I think you can still go back and retell stories that are iconic. And like the little moments between him and like Matt Dillon's character when they're on the boat fishing.
Yeah.
I like those moments.
Yeah. That's when I was like starting to come around, really.
Yeah, me too.
I was like, okay, new character. We got some action. We got some movement on the money. And then it's like, okay, that's done. We're going to go back to shitting Tom Hardy for 40 minutes. And then we'll bring him back at the end. It's like it's weird, man.
You know what this movie kind of is? It's almost like the last episode of an Al Capone miniseries.
Yeah.
And we skipped all the episodes leading up to this and just got into the very last episode. That's what this feels like.
That's a perfect analogy. So
yeah.
You haven't seen Breaking Bad, right?
No.
Well, you should watch it.
Don't at me.
It's okay. I hadn't seen Atomic Blonde, man. It's okay.
Yeah.
But so that's like a Walter White, Cranston's character.
Yeah.
Is like this iconic chemist turned super gangster in that movie or in that show, right. I say. And if anybody who's listening has seen it, just think of this if you haven't seen Capone. If Breaking Bad ended and then they made the El Camino movie that is like the sequel to Jesse's character, Aaron Paul's character, they made that movie, but it's really just Walter White in a retirement home way down the road. And he can't remember anything he did. That's what this movie is. It's literally just Cranston losing it and shitting his pants in a wheelchair in a nursing home. Think about how disappointed you would be if that movie came out. That's kind of how I feel about this.
Yeah, I feel like we missed something going into this.
Yeah, I wonder. It's like, is it implied that everyone knows this story and everyone knows this $10 million and everyone knows what he did and the history of it? Because I don't.
Well, apparently not, because I would figure either you or I would at least be familiar with it.
Yeah, I mean, I
And
know
it's not like we're totally ignorant to history either.
No. I mean, he was. I know he was a gangster and a bootlegger during Prohibition, and he got caught for tax evasion. That's what they got him for, even though he had been.
Yeah.
That's.
Yeah.
I knew that much of the story, and to be honest, I thought he died in prison. I had no idea he got out.
Yeah, that was the one thing I knew going into this, is that he died like out of prison.
Yeah, but I didn't know he had syphilis.
Yeah. And
That
apparently he
sucks.
had syphilis at 16 or something like that.
Yeah,
15?
I think he says he got it when he was 15 in the movie.
Damn.
When he's in the interview with, shout out Neil Brennan, who's awesome in this.
Yeah.
Neil Brennan is like one of the greatest comedy minds of all time. He co-wrote Chappelle's Show, just so you know.
Oh,
he's
sweet,
like the
okay.
co-creator of Chappelle's Show. And beyond Chappelle's Show, he has a stand-up called Three Mics on, I think it's on Netflix. And it is like one of the most versatile hour specials I've ever seen of any stand-up. It's so good.
Oh, okay.
Definitely go watch Three Mics, Neil Brennan. He plays Capone's lawyer in this
Yeah.
movie. He's just in one scene. But he was probably my favorite character besides Linda May.
Yeah. You saw Dunkirk, right?
Yes.
Did you notice
Not on the big screen, though, unfortunately.
Okay, yeah. Did you notice the pilot from Dunkirk in this film? Jack Lowden.
No.
He plays one of the pilots that gets shot down, and he's in the ocean and gets rescued by the boat
I thought that was Tomei.
during Dunkirk.
I thought that was Cillian Murphy.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, this is after that. Remember they
Oh.
pick him up on the way? He's almost sinking. But yeah, he was in this film. There's a lot of good actors in this film, even in like really small roles.
Yeah, it's weird. You look down the cast and everybody else, besides Linda Cardinelli's character May,
Yeah.
there's not a lot of lines. Matt Dillon probably has the third most lines. But yeah, everyone in the movie was really good and really like believable, especially all the Italian dudes.
Yeah, Gino Caffarelli, he had probably the third most lines.
I don't know. He's good in this.
Yeah, I bought the whole mob side of things in this film, the Italian family.
Yeah.
It was really well
That
done.
was that was like the casting and the whole
Kyle
Italian
MacLachlan, too.
vibe.
It was cool to see him.
Man,
I'll always
I think,
remember him in the Flintstones.
I think Gino put on some lbs for this role.
You think so?
I'm looking at his like headshots and shit.
Oh yeah, he looks kind of slim.
He's like 40, 50 pounds bigger in this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, Al. How do you say that? Sapienza. That's a good Italian name.
Yeah. Sapienza.
Ralphie. He's good, and that's the thing. It's like all the side characters are so good in this, yet
Yeah.
you don't really get anything from any of them. No
That's what I said,
development, no arc on any of their stories.
Yeah, I feel like this was the last episode of a miniseries. That's the thing. Even Catherine Narducci, she had some really nice moments too. Like she plays this really strong character in the film. Not a whole lot of dialogue, but she was another cool character. Yeah, kind of a waste. I'm a little bummed out about it.
You know, I got one gripe. Tony, the guy who plays Tony, Mason Guccione. Look at that name. Like I don't want to give too much away, but his character has a part of the plot line that absolutely goes nowhere. Absolutely nowhere.
Like 75% of his screen time is him on the phone saying nothing.
But the reason he's on the phone in the first place is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, okay.
Like the why he's calling.
Yeah.
That part of the story goes absolutely nowhere.
Yeah, that was one of those weird dead end subplots.
The whole thing's a dead end.
And it's almost like the way they kind of frame that, it's like one of the central parts of the story almost, with like the art and then the way the film ends, without saying anything more about that. But it's really weird. Like you said, it goes nowhere, but then they're trying to almost frame it like it's a key part of the story.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out a way to dance around this without giving it away because it's a new movie. But like, I'll ask this. Was Tony showing up when he shows up in the movie towards the end? Was he showing up for nefarious reasons? Do you think he was? Because it's portrayed as like a Hallmark moment instead.
I don't take it that way. Just because of...
If he's not showing up for nefarious reasons, then the entire beginning when they introduce Tony doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. I don't know. So you think he was there because he's trying to...
That's the only way it makes sense.
Yeah.
So the ending shouldn't be pretty.
Yeah, and it is super Hallmarky.
Yeah.
You're right.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Trank.
It's hard to really drill down on how shitty this story is without giving everything away. So
yeah.
let's try and talk about things we liked. I guess the characters and all the acting is fantastic, and the casting is fantastic.
Yeah. I think we both agree on that. Oh, and then shout out to let me find the actor's name, but the actor that plays Louis Armstrong. I thought that was amazing.
Yeah, I really wish he would have morphed into being young Capone midway through that flashback.
Yeah, Troy Anderson. That was awesome. He even did like the raspy voice and everything, the way he sang. That was really cool. Like I said, that was probably my favorite part of the whole film.
Yeah, that
whole
sequence was my favorite. Wicked
and
murder.
Yeah, like really intense murder scene.
Super, super good murder scene.
And then I liked the payoff at the dinner table. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's lots of little glimpses and flashes of something that could have been awesome.
Yeah. It sounds good. It probably sounded really good in a pitch meeting. Like, I'm going to tell this story, this tragic story of Capone's last year of his life,
Yeah.
And that is a very compelling storyline in the $10 million and all that.
And
But
it's a unique angle, too, with this character.
without the context of the history, it's really hard to enjoy it.
Yeah. I'm totally with you.
And not a lot of people... I mean, this is almost a century-old story. Almost.
Yeah.
It's like 80, 90 years. So you have to give some context,
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I'm there with you. I don't know, unless we should have just... Maybe we needed to do one of the great courses on Al Capone before we watch this movie.
Did they have one?
No. Probably not. So nothing more to say on character. I think we kind of talked about our favorites.
Yeah. Neil Brennan's the shit. Tom Hardy's the shit. Sorry this movie sucked.
P.S. Sorry it sucked. Linda Cardinelli.
Yeah.
Cardellini.
How does it? Cardinelli? Cardellini?
Cardellini.
Have it saying it?
Cardellini? Double L?
I don't know.
Cardellini?
Cardellini. I've been saying it wrong the whole time.
I don't know.
Like a dumbass.
I'm probably butchering the hell out of it too. But yeah, she was great. My favorite. Another strength of this film, I think, is in its cinematography and the way sequences are shot. I really liked how the film was shot overall, period. And I'm talking even about the weird, awkward close-up zoom-ins on Potato Capone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, those work when you have context or when you have something to reference from in a backstory. But like I said, the beginning sequence I really liked with his introduction. I loved the way they did the sequence in the dance hall with the killing right there. And there's a sequence at the end with a Tommy gun. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was like a really cool part of the movie.
That's badass too, like a gold-plated Tommy gun. Only Capone. And that was a total hallucination, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
the
nuts.
Tommy gun's real,
Yeah.
and he did shoot the Gardner cat. the they said Cuban, right? Cuban dude.
Yeah.
He shoots him and then just falls over and has the entire hallucination, right?
Yeah. Okay. Shit.
I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
When that alligator part
Whatever.
comes in at that, during that flashback or whatever, I was like, oh, sweet, alligator, this is going to get cool.
Yeah, that was
the
another-
gore factor in some of the earlier, the few little glimpses of violence that are in the movie are really fucking violent. So I was
Yeah.
like, okay, this is going to get sweet.
Right. And I liked some of the trippy hallucination sequences too, like when he falls into the pond there, or the swamp, and you got the gator there, and then the wave.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of really cool imagery there. Same thing with the painting.
Yeah.
When you go
Totally.
like into the painting almost, that was really cool, really well shot.
That's like another reason why it kind of sucks, because the way it's shot is the whole look and feel of the movie is really good.
Yeah.
And like really, there's some really cool kind of almost painful shots.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, I'm glad you brought that up, because I was going to talk a little bit about the pacing of the film too. There's this throughout the whole film, there's this feeling of just this like dread almost.
Yeah.
Like this uneasy feeling you get throughout the whole film, like something's about to explode. And you don't know at what point it's going to happen. And you feel really uneasy. And I thought that was really effective. It's just, there's no substance to that. There's nothing there. And it definitely has an atmosphere. It has a look. And I'm sure that's the look they were intending. But like I said, at the end of the day, I don't care enough about it because I don't get anything in the story, which is unfortunate. It's like, you got the bowl and you got the milk in your spoon, but no cornflakes.
Okay. I was like,
It's
where's
like-
he going with this? Is this a
Yeah.
farming reference? This is a dairy reference? What the fuck?
It's
Okay,
like-
I get it.
yeah,
You brought it
you
around
got
with the
all
little
that stuff.
cornflakes.
Yeah, and then you just shit your pants.
Oh, fuck. Yeah. Yeah,
But yeah,
man.
you see what I'm getting at? Like, the framing's all there to have something of substance, and you just don't get it in story.
No, there's
And
no payoff.
It's a total
no,
bummer.
No build up. Because like his speech ability degenerates throughout the movie.
Yeah.
So like the longness and the painfulness of watching it. That's what I mean by like painful shots,
Mm-hmm.
These long, slowly panning in on his face shots get worse as the movie goes on.
Yeah.
And I really liked all the like long away shots when he sees the cops, like
Yeah.
running,
Yeah.
and his whole, mansion
Mm-hmm.
with the lake and the pond and everything and all of his statues. Like it had such potential to be a really awesome, great movie.
Yeah. And I think,
Like I can't
I
think of
might-
anything the way it looks wise that I didn't like
yeah, me
about
either.
it.
And I think they could have sold me on the sympathetic side of his character if they would have maybe developed that a little bit more and given me some of his backstory. But I guess at the end of the day, even if they gave you that, how sympathetic can you be to some brutal gangster living in his mansion in his old age? Like, I don't know if maybe that story is just not the right story to tell for Al Capone.
I don't know. Because he doesn't really show a lot of remorse
Yeah,
for
that's the thing.
anything. So it's really hard for him to be a sympathetic character. He literally is just wants to kill one guy for who he had kill another guy.
Yeah.
And he regrets like literally one death one murder that came under his watch in his whole life, and he regrets that he can't remember where his money is buried, and maybe that's like the overarching message is like he was gangster to the grave, I guess.
Gangsta to the grave.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It was really I love the shot when he's stumbling around with a Tommy gun. When he comes out of the pool house or wherever it is that he gets the Tommy gun from.
Mm-hmm.
And he mows down all those dudes. I was just like, yes, like this is the payoff, you know?
Yeah, that was his Scarface moment.
And yeah, exactly. And it was just a hallucination.
Yeah. And the sad thing is, I knew that it was a hallucination all along the whole time. Like,
well, I was just hoping it would just snowball out of control and just get, because it's a really weird movie. Like it's meant to be.
It is pretty trippy,
confusing to you, and I like that whole side of it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's hard to spend as big a chunks of time of the movie that are just slow panning in on his face.
Yeah,
that really ruins the movie for me.
Yeah, agreed. I don't know, but yeah, it's really nice to look at. That's the thing, though. When you think about the films we do, there aren't really a whole lot of films, not that I can think of off the top of my head, where we were like, it was really awful to look at. Like,
yeah, well, I mean, nowadays everything's so beautiful. You know, cameras and everything are so badass these days, and the caliber of acting is so good, especially in this movie, that it's like you're just like marveling at how good of an actor Tom Hardy is the whole movie.
Yeah, they must have spent their whole budget just like recruiting these actors.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's not a whole lot I can say otherwise in terms of the look. I mean, I like the way they did it. Oh, one more thing I want to mention too is I like the whole Wizard of Oz sequence too.
Yeah.
In the theater.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool. And it's really well shot. You see like the projector on his face.
Yeah, did that happen?
Oh, that's right, because Matt Dillon's character was in the room too, right?
Did that even happen?
Yeah.
The guy in the shower? Is he really there? Yes. No.
Who cares?
The guy who unlocks the door, is that for the cops to come in and listen?
No, I think you're right. Because right after that, you get the scene between him and Matt Dillon's character on the two lawn chairs, and they're talking about the movie.
Yeah.
And May comes out, and he's not even there on the chair. He's just talking with himself.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe that whole damn thing's in his head too.
And Dylan's in the theater.
Yeah. See, I don't know.
And the guy in the shower, it's like, okay, he's on to the fact that dudes are watching his house.
Yeah.
And then
I think you're right. That's probably a whole hallucination right there.
I think it is.
See, that's what's so frustrating. It's like everything that seems like it's interesting is just not going on.
Yeah. What's more likely that happened is like they might have not even watched the movie.
Yeah, that's
and
the
he
thing.
was just sitting out there
the whole time
drinking his bourbon on the patio.
Yeah. Damn.
Because it kind of gets into that mode of like he's super duper paranoid.
Yeah.
But everybody around him is like murder people loyal. They'll murder people.
Yeah.
So
right.
I really doubt that the people working his house and stuff are really betraying him. That's all part of the crazy, right? Isn't that like the whole point?
The whole fucking movie might as well be a hallucination. Like from the very beginning. Just none of it really matters.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I think I just knocked my score down. It's a bummer.
It's not high on... We're not alone, you know. It's 34% on the old Rotten Tomatoes and 41% with critics.
To be honest, I'm surprised it got a 40.
40's, I was going to say 40's pretty damn high, but I could see super duper film folk really liking this, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because it's very different and very creative from a storytelling standpoint.
Yeah.
And maybe
Yeah,
a
see,
lot
some
of
of
the
these
critics are
reviews-
older and they have parents that are going through this old stage of life. So maybe it connects with people that have a really old relative or parent or something that is living with like dementia or Alzheimer's.
Yeah, no.
Maybe it does
And, like-
connect with a bunch of people that have experience with that. I really don't know.
Maybe. And like I will give them that. Like that is a strength. Like you do get a very clear sense of just how much he is suffering with
Yeah.
with his illness. And they do a good job of displaying all of that. And not to go into like talking about people who are dealing with this kind of stuff, but just with respect to the character of Capone in this film, I don't think anyone really cares.
If let me ask you a question. If you were a descendant of the old Capone tree, how would you feel about a movie like this? I'd be fucking pissed. If this
Yeah.
was like my great grandpa or something,
Yeah.
I'd be pretty pissed off at the making of this movie.
Yeah, and then that's something I looked for in the credits to see if there was any kind of connection to a Capone at all in either like a producerial role or anything like that, and there was nothing. So I'm sure they didn't consult any of the family.
Yeah. Well, it said they all changed their names, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, I guess it's a good point. Yeah.
it could only take one generation of lying or
Yeah, that's true.
not saying anything for people not even to know, unless they
Yeah.
do the old ancestry.com thing. I don't know. Yeah, I'd be pissed if I was related to this family. It does not. I would have wanted to see Great Grandpa the Gangster, not Great Grandpa shitting his pants.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess you're right. I guess I would be pretty upset about this. But I don't know. I guess I'll give them the fact that they were maybe you're able to get a sense of how messed up he was at the end. So that's maybe like the one saving grace of the film.
Yeah, the one message I take from it is
Wear diapers.
wear diapers or live wild enough to not get to this stage in your life.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what age it is, this stage.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to get there.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
that's my fucking the message I got.
I don't know. If I could live in a place like that and just shit my pants all day and have people clean it up, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't want to be shitting my pants. That doesn't sound fun at any age.
Oh, man.
What about
unfortunate.
some score, man? What'd you think of the music? I got to be honest, I don't remember any.
Yeah, no, that's... Yeah, I think you summed it up pretty well. I think there's maybe... I was trying to... Well, I rented it, and so I went back and watched it a little bit a second time, and there's a little bit of, like, some weird synth going on, like dark strings underneath things, but it's... You don't even really get atmosphere with the score. The score is almost just not there, and it's really weird. I don't know. This whole film, the way it's constructed is really kind of different, I'll say. I'm not a fan of this score, whatever it was.
Yeah, I just can't remember anything besides the flashback into the 20s bar music with Louis.
Yeah, the Louis Armstrong, like the...
I liked all
know.
that. And then I guess the singing along to Wizard of Oz shit.
Yeah. That was all cool.
You a big Wizard of Oz fan?
No, to be honest, I watched that film when I was really young, and the witch always scared the shit out of me. And I don't know, I was kind of creeped out as a kid. And I don't know, I was never really big into the Wizard of Oz story. What about you?
I have like this weird like brain wires crossed when I think about Wizard of Oz, when I try and remember it in my childhood. And
Yeah.
for some reason, every time I start thinking about the Wizard of Oz, I get catapulted into Indiana Jones' Temple of Doom. And I just start thinking about that movie. It's been happening my whole life. It's
How does that work?
I have no idea, dude.
I wish that
It
happened every
happened
time I
just
watched
now.
it. Really?
Yeah, I was like, fucking Wizard of Oz. I think it has something to do with the flying monkeys
Yeah.
in Wizard of Oz, right?
Uh-huh.
Is that right? Flying monkeys?
Yeah.
And the
Those things are creepy as
bats,
fuck too.
the bats in India.
Temple of Doom.
Yeah, when they're in the forest. It has something to do with that imagery of like I remember the monkeys, and then all of a sudden my brain automatically goes over to Temple Doom, and I start thinking of that movie.
I can see that because you get the swarms of the monkeys in the film, and then you get the swarms of bats. But that's so fucking random.
So weird, and it's been
That's
happening
weird.
my whole life. Every
Wow.
time the Wizard of Oz comes up in any conversation or anything, Temple of Doom pops into my brain. That one scene before they enter the dope. After they land on the raft, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Wow, that's pretty cool.
Beginning
I think
of
if I thought of Temple of Doom every time I watched Wizard of Oz, I'd watch it a lot more. It's interesting.
Temple of Doom's underrated, by the way. It gets
Oh,
shit
yeah.
on. Gets shit on of all the Indiana Jones films, but the beginning, the opening of Temple of Doom is so good.
Yeah.
It is so good with the raft and the
Uh-huh.
plane and oh, dude, I love it.
No, it's not. It's my least favorite of the three. Oh, we got to do this at some point. We'll do the Indiana Jones trilogy.
Yeah,
Too. But it's my least favorite of those films. But I don't think it's a bad film.
oh, I like all the old ones.
Yeah.
I don't have a favorite. I just like all the first three.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I haven't seen the old Maya Aliens one with LaBeouf.
Oh.
And
Yeah, I'm not aware of that one you're talking about. We won't talk about that one.
I've been advised not to watch it.
Yeah, we'll stay clear of that one. It didn't happen as far as we're concerned. Yeah, so score. It's oddly
I don't
Not
remember
there?
anything besides
not
those two
memorable.
songs in the movie.
and that's weird for someone that loves score as much as I do.
Blueberry Hill is the Louis song, and
Yeah.
whatever the Wizard of Oz song is. I don't know.
That was
what it
all
is.
great.
That's all I remember.
Yeah, me too. All right, well, was that the? Oh yeah. Okay, we got one more thing to talk about real quick in our wrap up. So love hates. What do you got?
All right. I love Tom Hardy as
Yeah.
Capone. He is such a good actor that I just want to
Hot
see
take.
see him in so much more shit. And I can't wait for Peaky Blinders to come back. That's what I loved. Was him. What I hated about the movie is the amount. I want a clock, I want a clock of silent screen time Tom Hardy's face. And I would put money that it's over 40 minutes.
Yeah.
But I am going to say one thing that's not really a love or a hate, but I want to give credit because this is a ballsy movie to make, and it's a whiff in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But this taking chances on a story,
Oh, yeah.
is the only way movies are going to, not all have the same arc. So I'll give credit there. I didn't particularly enjoy it, but
Nah.
I'll give credit to the cojones
Thanks for
saying
no.
I'm going to make a Capone movie and it's not going to be anything like you think it should be.
Yeah. I'm so glad you said that because this was like one huge swing, like for the fences, and it didn't pay off.
Great
It didn't
cut.
pay off. Yeah. But yeah, he definitely swung for the fences on this one.
Choke
And-
up on the bat.
Hey, bada. Then he gets hit in the nuts and gets sent right to the dugout.
Shits
Yeah,
his pants in the dugout.
Yeah. There's a lot of shitting references in this podcast.
A lot of shit in this movie.
Yeah.
Shit,
There is.
Literally.
Yeah.
That fucking turd that he lays down during the FBI meeting.
How awesome was that?
Well, I actually really liked both the shitting scenes, to be honest.
Yeah.
And it's like the best fuck you ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's weird,
So-
because like you think in that scene, you know he's kind of with it,
Mm-hmm.
but he ain't going to answer nothing.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah.
And then he's just like, oh, this is what I got for you. And Neil's suit in that scene is dope. He's got that fucking
Yeah.
dark, or like almost like tan brown suit with the fedora.
Yeah.
Gangsta.
Man. Yeah. All great points. So for me, like I said, I loved a lot about this film, to be honest. In terms of like the cinematography, the acting, there was a lot to like about it. But the problem is the most important element of the whole thing, the story, falls completely on its face. And so,
Literally.
yeah. Yeah. Jesus.
Couple of times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it falls right on its face. Long zoom in. Yeah, so the story just didn't go anywhere for me. I went into the film knowing almost nothing about Al Capone, and I left knowing almost nothing about Al Capone. So that's,
I bet
that's
you.
kind of a problem for me.
I bet you there's going to be like a TV show on the History Channel where they pay a bunch of crazy dudes to fucking go dig up Al Capone's old property, looking for this money under the pond
Yeah.
or besides the pond. Is it a spring box? Is that what he sees at the end of the movie? A spring box
I think
that's
so.
feeding the.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, there's gonna be like a 6-season long History Channel show where nothing ever happens, and these dudes dig up an entire like 50 acres in Florida somewhere.
Yeah.
It'll be hilarious. Capone's treasure.
Right. Instead, they just find a bunch of dismembered human remains like all over the property.
Well, that would be fucking interesting.
Yeah, that would be. And I wouldn't doubt it either. It's an interesting film. I can't really put my finger on what this was trying to be. But like I said, I agree with you. Kudos to Josh Trank for trying to take a huge swing on this. And a lot of times they don't work out, which is unfortunate. I think I'll always say this too, even with the bad films. This shit is too hard to do, and it's too hard to make for someone to be like, I'm going to half-ass this, and let's just do it to do it for the money. Like, I don't think any director goes into a film doing that.
No, I don't get that at all. I think
Yeah.
it's totally really getting
Yeah.
creative and trying something different, and that's
Right.
good.
So yeah, I think that's I'm glad we mentioned that. So yeah, crunch time. Where does the score on your rankings?
So I'm gonna maybe surprise you a little bit. I'm gonna give it 3 bong loads because everything about the movie is good except the story
Yeah.
and like the lack of context, which is kind of the point. I think that's kind of the point of the movie.
And so, like, to clarify, I think when you say everything about the film is good other than the story, you're talking about technically the film is well made.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. You know, from a cinematography standpoint, it's beautiful. All the acting is completely spectacular in the casting,
Right.
and all of that is really good. And I'm giving an extra bong load for the balls to try something completely different.
Okay. Yeah.
It would normally be a 2.
Mm-hmm.
Because I really didn't enjoy watching it, but I'm gonna go 3.
Yeah.
And just for the balls of making something that's nothing like we've seen, you know.
Yeah.
And that's good, you know. Even if it's got to be some bad movies to break the mold of the protagonist, antagonist, hero, villain, normal story arcs, I'm cool with that, you know. So that's what I'm gonna do. 3 bong loads. I don't remember what I was smoking when I watched it. I was in kind of a shitty mood when it was over, and I was just like, fuck, I'm fucking going to bed. That sucked.
You were smoking a carrot.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. All right. I think I'm going to give it the same exact score you did.
Really?
This is
I
gonna
thought
be-
you were coming in low.
Yeah, no. I was in the 3 range, but I wasn't sure if I was gonna give it like a sub decimal. But anyways, 3 buckets of popcorn for me, for all the reasons you just mentioned. And like I said, it's there were a lot of the technical aspects of the movie that I did enjoy, and some sequences that worked really well. And like I said, if you look at this as the last episode in a miniseries, then it makes more sense. But that just doesn't cut it for a feature film. Like if that was the case, they may as well just taken this script and turned it into 5 or 6 episodes of a miniseries.
Yeah. Maybe generationally this movie will land a lot better with the older crowd.
Yeah, maybe.
I wouldn't
And
be
like,
surprised.
Yeah, and if they, I don't know, maybe they do something with HBO and tell like the first 5 episodes of this arc, and then it shines a whole different light on this film.
That'd be
yeah,
that'd be an interesting direction.
Yeah.
To take it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'd love to see more Capone, Tom Hardy.
Yeah, me too. Like, and I immediately thought of what he looked like in the mirror.
Well,
I'm like, let's see more of that guy.
Yeah. I don't know.
So yeah,
bring him in on squeak him into Peaky Blinders somehow. Have him get on a boat. It's like the same time period. Have him get on a boat and go over to. But Tom Hardy's in that show too, so he could play 2 characters.
Yeah. And then he discovers a youth serum and becomes Bane in The Dark Knight Returns. The Dark Knight Rises, I mean. Which you haven't seen yet, right, with him?
No, I
Bane?
turned it off. I've turned every single one of the Bale Batmans off. The second I hear him as Batman, I turn it off. I can't take it seriously. I just start laughing.
Yeah, he has an interesting voice in that film too.
If I just start laughing at a movie that's not like that at all, I gotta just pull the ripcord and get out of there, dude.
All right. Ditch it. Well,
sorry for mispronouncing some names on this. All you awesome actors.
Yeah. It's probably not going to get much better down the road, but hats off. You guys did a great job. But yeah, any final thoughts? I think we summed it up pretty well.
No, yeah, I mean,
we delved pretty deep into it.
It was a ballsy movie to make, and it missed, but good cut.
Yeah.
Strike 1, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah.
It sounds like strike 2 after what you said about Fantastic Four.
Yeah. It's technically a strike 2.5 because he got fired for Star Wars. So better luck next time, Josh Trank.
Choke up.
But yeah, choke up. So that is episode 22 of The Buff and the Blazer. I'm Drew with El Toddo, and we will catch you guys next time.
Later, people. I'm pretty drunk.